This is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Let's get ready to rumble!
The Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat the New York Knicks by 19 points. I think we're 3-0 against them this year. We'll have a chance to sweep them. And just pretty soon we play them again in just a couple games here. But as for game 3, oh yeah, I see it right there. We play them April 11th. But as for the third game against New York, it went about the way that I wanted it to. The first half wasn't great. They kind of got off to a slow start. Really, it was New York was just shooting the lights out. They were shooting like 75% from three in the first quarter. I think near 50 to 60% in the first half. And then from there, everything just kind of fell apart for them. They were playing Tyler Kolek. They were playing Landry Shamet. Like the talent disparity just really pulled through in the Cavs' favor. The Cavs kind of woke up in the second half and just took it straight to them. Ended up being a blowout for really the final 12 minutes of the game. So, Corey, what was your first initial reaction heading into this game, considering the history between the Cavs and the Knicks and then how it all unfolded?
I think for a while, outside of the Clippers game, we've kind of been looking for the Cavs to reclaim their momentum against a notable team. I think they've had some wins recently since their West Coast disaster, I'm calling it kindly. But you kind of wanted to see as this team heads into the postseason that they can pull out some wins in similar fashion to how we've seen them do for the majority of the season. And to me, the Knicks were one of the first teams and only teams really left on the calendar that kind of could fit that bill, even without Jalen Brunson in this game. Just because even though they aren't as deep of a team, their top level talent, their 1 through 5 normally is up there for one of the more talented teams and is more resemblant of what this team is going to face in the postseason. And to see them respond from a terrible first half and basically just blow the brakes off of the Knicks in the second half. They started off on a 7-0 run. Immediately, the Knicks just kind of realized there was a momentum swing and the Cavs just vice gripped that game from that moment onward. And that's something that I think we've all been looking for since the West Coast trip, and it is positive momentum for a team that, as I discussed on the stream, just hasn't had it in past few seasons. This is not a win that this team would have had in the past few years. Notably, I think of that Clippers game last season where you kind of just you could just say it was a snapshot game, but it felt like that just encapsulated how the Cavs and the fans were feeling heading into the postseason. And this is the exact opposite in terms of tone and in terms of momentum.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, the Cavs, they've had their struggles here in March, and it's been a little bit of a lopsided stretch of games just in terms of the effort at times, but they definitely have not let go of the rope as they did last year or in years past. Again, the Clippers game where we blew like the 28-point lead last year rolling into the playoffs, that felt awful, but it was more than just that. Off the top of my head, I know that we blew a couple leads. It just felt like they could not get a win during that stretch. I don't know what their record was off the top of my head, but felt really bad. And it's never felt that bad to me this year, which is obviously encouraging. And then even going into today or the last game against the Clippers this season where we beat them, I had been saying, all right, they took their eye off the ball. They're struggling a little bit here. I can excuse that throughout an 82-game season, right? Like, it's bound to happen. It's really, you look at the Thunder, and they're still killing teams, and it's like, well, they're just having an historically great season. They're literally putting up the greatest net rating of all time, so that's an exception. Most teams throughout 82 games are going to have at least a 2-week stretch where they're not playing their best basketball, so I was more willing to give them a pass, again, especially because they hadn't fully let go of the rope. But with all that being said, I mentioned it before the previous game on Sunday, and I said it again today against the Knicks. This is now, we got 6-7 games left in the season. I want to see them put together some very competent stretches of basketball, right? I want to see them recommit to playing focused basketball on both ends, show me that edge, play sharp basketball. And today was a mixed bag because the first half wasn't all that great. But even in that first half, yeah, there was things that they needed to clean up, but New York was also just shooting the ball crazy. The Cavs were keeping up pace, but not at that like 70% clip. And as the game went on, especially towards the end of the second quarter and then the entire second half, the intensity was way up. Guys were playing hard. Mitchell was up there playing defense, picking up at half court. Max Strus was out there bodying up. Mobley, Allen started to be more impactful on the glass. And then I got to say it, my man Okoro. What a game from Isaac Okoro. Kind of like the quintessential game that you want from him, or in that seventh, eighth man roll off the bench. Look, he didn't shoot the ball that well. 1 of 6 from 3. Okay, that's not great, but 6 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, and a couple more where he tapped the ball out or was fighting for it and even forced a jump ball at one point. He was super active on the glass. He was down there fighting for every rebound, which just makes a difference because the Cavs in this game, they win the rebounding battle 44-39. And if you look at this recent stretch in March and the last few games, they've been kind of struggling on the glass. But against the Clippers, most recently on Sunday, they win that rebounding battle. They hold Zubac for the most part. I wrote an entire story on Fear the Sword, how Donovan Mitchell kind of led by example in that game with the career high, he had the career high in assist a couple games ago. He had 12 rebounds against the Clippers, which was 1 short of a career high, but he kind of led by example because a lot of times Mobley and Allen, I'm kind of getting sidetracked, but Mobley and Allen get bulk of the blame when it comes to the rebounding battle. But you look at it tonight, Mobley only 4 rebounds. Okay, Allen does his job with 8. But the reason why they win the rebounding battle is because Mitchell has 6, Strus has 5, Okoro picked up 6 off the bench, Sam Merrill was down there getting 4, Tomlin had 3 rebounds in 2 minutes. That's kind of crazy, but other guys are getting involved is the point. So the bigs get the bulk of the blame, but it's got to be a team effort. And so seeing Okoro embrace that's something that we've been wanting him to do. Like, man, if Okoro, yes, the 3-point shooting is an obvious thing that we want him to do, but if he can start impacting the game in other areas too, getting rebounds, 2 steals in this game, being an event defender, these are the little things you want to see from him. He ends up getting 11 points on 5 of 10 shooting because he's running the floor, making really good cuts to the hoop, and again, keeping the ball alive, getting extra possessions for the Cavs. Plus 13 off the bench. I don't think he single-handedly changed the momentum or anything like that, but he certainly played a role in the second half, getting the Cavs back on track and getting them to try harder on defense, right? Like when Okoro is crashing the glass and getting these steals, it energizes the team, and that's really true for everyone in the second half. But Okoro, to me, was a big standout and have to give him his flowers.
Yeah, I think a common thing I see online, if a certain player isn't meeting expectation, especially in the case of Okoro, where his development track is to improve his 3-point shooting, I think that's the tunnel vision people get, what shows signs of development as a player and what defines a complete player. But Okoro is someone that I would rather Okoro give performances like these than be a non-factor on all other facets of the game, but shoot 3 for 7 from 3 or 4 for 7 from 3 in a playoff series. I think if Okoro is able to kind of impact games like this, it actually also really helps with the attention required to guard him on the defensive end, because if Okoro's moving around and he's not stationary, it doesn't become a simple game of make or miss when opposing defenses are trying to game plan against him. It's trying to stay attached to him so he doesn't have backdoor cuts like we saw today against the Knicks. He was active off ball. Yes, the 3-point shot was not there. I mean, 1 for 6 isn't the worst Okoro 3-point stat line we've ever seen, but it's just something where you just want to see these types of plays. How many times throughout the Max Strus's tenure with the Cavs have we said Max Strus's shot isn't falling, but he's done other things to impact the game. He's been an active rebounder. He's really good with facilitating to the bigs as a secondary ball handler. Not saying Isaac Okoro needs to do that for the Cavs, but just kind of finding his spots to impact games will solidify him in a playoff rotation. And I'm someone who wants to see Isaac Okoro become an impact player in the postseason. I think we've each season come into this question. It's a common question every time of, is Isaac Okoro good enough to stay on the floor right now? And for the past few postseasons, that hasn't really been the case. So a performance like tonight is a good blueprint for this coaching staff and Isaac Okoro going forward to seeing if he can finally break break through a rotation like that, especially if Kenny is talking about possibly playing 10 players in a playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, as far as like Okoro's viability in the playoffs, it's always come down to basically, well, is he hitting 3-pointers? Because he's going to stand in the corner and it's literally just a make or miss league at that point. And don't get me wrong, he's going to have to hit threes in the playoffs this year as well. Like that's not going to be something that you can completely overlook. It's going to be a huge X factor, but the fact that it's not totally reduced to just, is he hitting 3-pointers or not? Now, I'm not saying we're completely at that point. He's got to prove that he can be someone who attacks the glass and gets steals and generates turnovers. He's got to keep doing that. It's just one game, but on the season, I've been saying this for a while, and it's not like, listen, the bar isn't super high or anything. I'm not raving about him being an all-star or anything like that, but I do think this is the most complete version of Okoro that we've seen. I think he looks like an active member of the offense. They're using him as a screener a lot this week, and he's, whatever the stat was, he's like the third ranked in screening efficiency or whatever. I know those tracking stats can be a bit weird, but he's showing up in them, right? And I don't think he showed up in them in years prior. The fact that he's not just standing in the corner, he's actually bringing the ball up the floor. He's passing it. He's being used in the short roll. Like he's doing other things. He doesn't always do them all that well. He's definitely not doing any of them at an elite level, but he's doing them. And he's like the 8th guy in your rotation. And so those are just good things that he's able to hang his hat on, even on a night where he goes 1 of 6. And we're like, man, Okoro was so good. Can't imagine you have many games like that in previous seasons where you're like, well, Okoro went 1 of 6, but he actually was pretty good. No, it's like if Okoro starts a game 1 of 4 even, he's usually out the rotation for the rest of the night. So the fact that he was out there for 23 minutes despite that poor shooting, and he was such an impactful player. I want to go ahead and pivot real quick to someone else because we're going to keep this short. We try to keep the post-game pod short. We've already talked about Okoro for like 10 minutes. So we got to talk about at least one other Cavalier. Who else can we talk about? Donovan Mitchell, I think, was probably the second best player. Him and Jarrett Allen are the other 2 guys who stood out to me tonight. DeAndre Hunter was good off the bench too. Give him a quick shout out. 16 points. Shot the ball pretty well. The 3-point shooting 2 of 5, but really just getting into the middle of the defense and converting these mid-range jumpers and floaters. I joked on the playback stream. He's kind of the anti-Karis LeVert right now. I don't know what the percentages are, but he's making like everything from the middle of the floor, which is great. Aura in the chat says, how about that Jarrett Allen block on Cat? I mean, dude, Jarrett Allen has been a beast he had that one game. I'm blanking which one it was. He had one game where he kind of got punked. I can't think of which one it was, but against the Spurs, he was dominant. Well, there was a game in between where he got punked against the Pistons. He didn't play good against the Pistons, but against the Spurs, he went crazy. Against the Clippers, he went crazy. And then tonight, 21 points, 8 rebounds. He goes 10 of 11 from the floor. This has been a pretty good stretch from Jarrett Allen. So I think he's been playing really good. And then, of course, like I said, Donovan Mitchell, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks for Donovan Mitchell. He really came alive in the second half, especially. You could see him energizing the crowd, getting hype, getting them into it. He is still the team's leader at the end of the day. And I think throughout this season, we have seen that. The Boston game comes to mind where it's like when the chips are down, Donovan Mitchell is going to be the guy who picks this team up. So seeing him do that again against this depleted New York Knicks team, it's good to see, right? Like the Cavs kind of come out with no energy in the first half. Mitchell starts to electrify them. Okoro chips in, Hunter chips in. Allen has his moments. Mobley even had a few moments. Darius started to get going down the stretch. It's just been a team effort all year long. And I think we saw that happen all over again tonight.
Yeah, to close out the Donovan Mitchell thoughts, I feel like you emphasize the team part, and I think that's something that I need to see in this closing stretch, because I think the worst version of what could happen in this last stretch is the Cavs offense starts to stagnate, and then Mitchell continues to be at the level he's at right now, which then reverts this offense back to a version of what we saw last year, where it's like, oh, Donovan, please help us. Donovan, please score 40 points because we can't be in this game without you going nuclear in every series, which is just not tenable for this roster. It's not tenable for a team that's built around a guard other than Steph Curry, essentially. It's just something where you can't really... It's so easy to blueprint. You'll just double Donovan, and then everyone else who's been in a rut is now expected to dig themselves out of it. So a game like this, yes, Donovan had a good game, but it's also good that, like you said, each player kind of had their moments too. Even role players had their moments. That's just something that once again adds to that positive momentum this team is enduring. And it's something that going forward, I think we have a few games against the Pacers left too. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Those are kind of like the last push for me in terms of what I'm looking for, to see games where the Cavs kind of step up. If they kind of just put ho-hum efforts out against basement dwellers, I'm not really going to get in a fit here, as we're seeing in the chat that Boston just lost against Miami. So it's a 2-game difference or required wins to get the 1 seed. So at that point, like, I don't really care like what their end of season record is. I care about getting the 1 seed. So if they kind of coast in those games going forward, I'm not going to be like, it's over.
Yeah, they basically have the 1 seed all but locked up. I know technically, mathematically, all that, it's not completely theirs, but they're going to clinch it sometime soon. And then from there, yeah, like the record, it's not all that important, but I do want to see them play some sharp basketball, especially in those 2 Pacers games and again against the Knicks. Speaking of the 1 seed and all this, we're definitely going to have to record a podcast soon, just kind of breaking down the different ways that the playoffs could end up for the Cavs, the different teams that they might have to play, opponents, ranking, all that. I think that'll be fun. But I will say, just to conclude this segment here against the Knicks, I'm not worried about New York. And I know I said that back in 2023 and it completely got thrown back in my face, but I feel way more confident about it this time. Because back then I was like, yeah, it could go 5, could go 6, 7. Like it could go a lot of different ways. There's only one way this series goes if both teams are healthy this year. And really, it's just not going to go at all because New York is not getting to the conference finals. I can tell you that much. They might not even get out of the first round. They could, depends on who they draw. If they're not beating Boston in the second round, we saw it tonight. We've seen it every single time they played the Knicks this year. The Cavs are just putting Karl-Anthony Towns in a torture chamber. He is struggling to defend every single time in the drop. They go at him every time. They have no answer for Evan Mobley. He only had 13 points, but all of his most effective plays were when he was matched up one-on-one with Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm not worried about the Knicks. We're going to have to look at, who they could play in the first round and whether they play the Pacers, Pistons, or Bucks in the second round. But as far as the New York Knicks, they're basically dead to me. We see him one more time this year. And I think that's the last time we're going to see him this season.
Yeah, I weirdly feel most confident in the Knicks playing against the Pacers just because of that offense on offense matchup. Everything else, though, their teams are way too physical, I think, for what a Karl-Anthony Towns led defense could be. Not that Karl-Anthony Towns is the identity of their defense, but just physical teams are going to be a really tough time for Cat. And we're probably going to hear, oh my God, at least 50 times in that series. Get the hot mic.
He fouled out of the last matchup with us, I'm pretty sure, and he had 5 tonight. So he almost played himself off the floor tonight. And look, we've talked about the Knicks Cavs so often. I'm glad that it's really not even a discussion anymore because I said it at the start. I know the Knicks were injured tonight, so you can't take too much from this single game and all that. And you got to prove it in the playoffs. I get it. I hear you. But the Cavs have proven all season that they're just they have moved out of this tier. They're in a brand new tier. They're with the Celtics and the Thunder and whoever else you consider contenders. They're no longer in that outside looking in group where the Knicks are. And so I feel good about it. And you know what? That's going to do it for this episode of the Junkyard Pod. I want to thank everyone who's watching on YouTube. Massive shout out to everyone on Playback and on the YouTube feed who watch the game live with us. If you ever want to do that, follow Fear the Sword on playback.tv or subscribe on YouTube. You can watch the games live along with us. We'll be doing that all throughout the playoffs, so I can't wait. Make sure you check out Fear the Sword so you can see all the good stuff that we're doing over there on the blog. And with all that being said, go Cavs.